Everyone hear me? I hope the answer is yes, because it is time for another episode of Supportive Advice Live. Yo! If you have a question, put it in the chat. If not, we can just vibe. Someone said, how do you handle a friend that is always busy and don't get together with you? That's a good question. I typically say to people, make room for people who make room for you. I would also say to set boundaries around yourself. Put your expectations out there. Thank you, Dan Kwan, by the way. I appreciate you. And Anna Marie. Ammo. I also want to say that sometimes friendships are based on circumstance. And so when our circumstances change, the friendship can be less viable. So, there's always that. Anna Marie, did that answer your question, or was there more details to it that you would like to go into? Just want to make sure that I answered your question. Great, I'm glad. Anna Marie says yes, that helped. Wait a minute, we got another question. How do you handle your spouse not communicating with you? That's a hard one. Because a lot of times the communication or the lack of communication is just a symptom of something else that's going on. A lot of people stop communicating because they stop feeling heard. It's a part of a pattern of emotional cutoff. It's also part of a pattern of distancing. How long has this lack of communication been going on, Anna Marie? Now, is he silent right after, an argument or a dispute, or has he been just silent for a long time now? Normally, people don't just shut down for no reason, which is why I'm asking. Okay. So Anne Marie said, whenever she talks about how she's feeling, her spouse shuts down and is silent. I'm curious as to what tone is being used, because sometimes we will speak in a tone that is or in conversation that is blaming, right? You make me feel like this, you make me feel like that, versus using I statements. I feel distant from you when you're not talking to me, or I don't feel appreciated when you don't acknowledge me. I statements help cut down on defensiveness. How long have you all been married? I also want to say, talking about your feelings, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, Talking about your feelings is important. However, it's also important that you make sure your partner has the capacity. Sometimes I'll recommend, 16 years. Okay. 16 years. March 12th. Well, I want to say congratulations. 16 years. That's a long time, so you guys have probably made it through a lot of different things. Do you typically use I statements, or do you find that the language you use may lay blame on your spouse when it relates to you talking about how you feel? So Anna Marie says both, which is fair. That's fair, um, because nobody just uses I statements, right? Not naturally. Now, if you've been in therapy for a little while, like, and you're doing couples therapy, then you practice that. But on a regular basis, is conversation is mainly like this. You know what? You make me feel like, you know what? When you do this, I feel like, well, I feel like you're saying, and it's a lot of that. Right. Probably not, the way of another neck. Everybody doesn't do that. But but what we don't do is take a moment first again to ask our partner if they have the capacity. Sitting down and saying, "Hey, I really want to discuss something with you regarding, how I've been feeling lately. Do you think you have the capacity right now to engage me in that type of conversation?" And if they say yes, great, move forward. Now they've entered into an agreement to have the conversation. If they say no, which can happen, that can happen too, at that point, ask them when they think they would feel up to it. Because a no is not just, we'll never talk about it again. A no is just not right now. And then there is interpersonal effectiveness, where you use the I statements and you do reflective listening. These are two things that I prescribe to my couples all the time. Oh, sometimes he changes the subject. So that lets me know, and I don't know your husband, but based on what you just said, that lets me know that as far as stress communication, he could possibly be the distractor. Distractor is one, placater is one, blamer is one, computer is one. And I know this doesn't sound like anything to you all. Um, but these are all different ways or different styles of communication when people feel stressed. So if you're telling me something and it's causing tension in the room, and I don't want to deal with the tension, essentially what I might do is I might distract. I might change the subject. I might, you know, um, try to take the focus off myself by looking at other things in the room or putting my attention elsewhere so that you're distracted. Like, what are you looking at? What's going on? Are you looking at the TV, or what's on the wall? What are you staring at? What has your attention, right? And in doing that, I've just taken you away from what you were talking about, right? So again, it's important to ask your significant other, hey, do you have the capacity? There are so many times that we as partners will go to our significant others and just start talking. Right? We don't know where they are. We don't know their capacity. And if we haven't entered into any type of agreement to have the conversation, we're not talking with them, we're talking at them. And that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. So reflective listening, getting back to that, is when someone says something to you and then you internalize it, right? And then let them know what you heard them say. An example would be, Anna Marie, so I'm hearing you say that your husband doesn't like to be a part of conversations that he feels are argumentative, right? That is me hearing what you say and then giving you what I heard. Once I give you what I heard, then you can say to me, well, no, that's not really what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say is that he just XYZZYX. This works well even in, well, not even in, but in relationships, in any type of, whether you're coworkers, whether you are friends, whether you are in a romantic relationship, even with, the relationship with your kids, it works well. What I'm hearing you say is, practicing that is really important. Practicing asking your partner if they have the capacity is really important. But not setting the precedent that if they say they don't have the capacity, you all never have to talk about it. You follow that up with, okay, I understand you might not have the capacity right now. When do you think would be a good time for us to discuss this? Because this is important to me to discuss. You don't give like this never ending way out of the conversation, right? But you do acknowledge that just because you're ready to talk about something doesn't necessarily mean the other person is ready to hear you. They haven't agreed to hear you. They haven't agreed to talk about anything with you. You don't have their agreement. And so you're not talking to them, you're talking at them. And yes, Anna Marie, thank you. She says makes sense. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Any more questions? I'm still taking questions here. So if it was me, let's say I was talking to like a friend or something, and I'm saying something to them, and then they're just talking, and then I'm saying something to them, and then they're just talking. What I would typically do is I would say, okay, it sounds like that you are kind of just listening to respond. It sounds like you have a response right after I say something, which means that I really don't think that you're processing what I said. I think the better question right now, before we even continue this discussion, is what did I say to offend you? You know, at what point in this conversation did you begin not feeling safe? Because those are key elements of that. If I'm defensive, then I am listening to respond because I'm trying to um protect against attack. But if I'm just trying to have a conversation with you and those things keep coming up, all of a sudden now I have to realize, okay, at some point I said something or I maneuvered in a way that this person no longer felt safe and they began to become defensive. Let's go back to a place of vulnerability so that we can actually have a conversation instead of our defense mechanisms having a fight.
That's good. Mm,
But that takes humility,
mhm.
right? Because if someone starts talking over me, right? Natural human reaction is, did you just talk over me?
That's your
Because I know
reaction.
you did just talk over me. You know what I'm saying? Because now I'm about to get mad and I'm gonna talk louder than you. That's human. That's innate human reaction, right? Humility says, wait a minute. There might have been an unintentional. This might be an unintentional consequence of something that I said or something that maybe I didn't mean to, but triggered someone else. Like it is understanding that you don't have to mean to hurt someone to hurt someone.
So true.
I wanted to ask you real quick. Do you watch this? I guess I don't want to call it a show, but it's kind of like it's a panel called Tonight's Conversation. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
So they're coming to Cleveland, and I would love to have gone, but I had already got my tickets to Cat Williams. So, you know what I'm saying? Can't come on the same night as Cat Williams. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, that gonna happen. I mean, so hey Tara, how you doing? If you have any questions, um, put them in the chat. I'm taking questions. If you want to join in, you can join in. That's cool too. The link is it's in the chat. It's pinned to the chat. So anyway, at some point there was this lady, and I was looking for the clip. I was looking for the clip because I wanted to show the clip, but whatever. So I'm sure somebody will find it. If you find it, put it in the chat. If you find the clip, put it in the chat. But there was a woman, and she had asked something along the lines of why, when we question our men and about, I guess, being unfaithful or whatever it is that we question them about, right? All of a sudden they say that we're insecure. But essentially she was saying, why when we catch our dude doing something and then we start to question them about it, all of a sudden we're insecure. And the response was essentially, and I'm paraphrasing. So Trill, if you ever run across this, which I highly doubt, but if you were ever to run across this, Trill, I'm paraphrasing. But the response was basically, because we suck and you gonna stay anyway. So what do we need to put all this energy into, something that you're gonna stay over anyway? You looking around for he said something about women being FBI agents or something like that. And we doing all of this work looking through people's phones and yada yada yada. But we still stay, so what's the point? And I mean that response was interesting. Was interesting, I get, what he's saying, just in the sense that, like, there's only so long that you can be a victim. You know what I'm saying? It's like either you're a participant or you're a victim. And like once you kind of know what somebody's about, and you still allow the behavior to continue, essentially people consider you at times a willing participant. That's the same thing you kind of saw with Risa Tisa, where they were like, yeah, but after the first couple lies and you knew he was lying, like, you're not a victim anymore. You're just an active participant. And so that's like that's not what I'm saying, but that is the social perspective. And my thing is, like, when there's infidelity, the hurt party a lot of times wants nothing more than to go back to how things were before the infidelity, when they could still trust their partner, when they had faith in a relationship, when and they want to believe that this is a one-time thing. They don't want to believe that it's a pattern. They want to believe that it's something that can be worked through, right? I don't think any woman is like, you know what, I hate myself and I just want to keep on getting cheated on over and over and over again. That's my whole thing. Like, no one's saying that. No one is saying that. There is a process that you go through. First is shock, like, I cannot believe. It's really similar to the stages of grief. You're shocked. I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. I guess I meant to say that 3 times. And then there is anger. And then there is, hurt. Sometimes then there's like more shock, you know? And so there's all of these things going on. And then you come to your partner, and really what the person is wanting is some type of reassurance. I'm sorry. Or, this is not, you didn't see what you thought. Like, people really want, you didn't see what you thought you saw type deal. You know, women are not taking these people back. Men are not taking these individuals back because they don't believe that the person won't change. And so to say, like, what's the point? Because they want the person to change, but they're also looking for reasons to trust or not to trust. So both of those things are happening. Go ahead, Mo.
You mentioned that no one wants to um know that you mentioned, I'll just say this, when I was listening to you, I thought about women, or it's men too, it's not just women, but women and men who want to be loved so badly that you will accept anything and you know it's wrong, and you notice the red flags while we're talking about it. You know that he really cheated or she really cheated, but yet you still stay. And sometimes what I've learned, from some people I've seen, and even in my own life story, let's be real, like everybody has struggled with this in some kind of capacity,
Oh,
or
yeah.
if not, if you so-called super woman and superman, you know someone who has dealt with it, right? And wanting to be loved so badly that you will accept the unacceptable. Because at this point, when I think about the question she asked, and we don't really remember the whole clip, I think I saw it too. um, However, many times when people ask, they have experienced it already. They know that person is guilty. And like you said, you didn't sign up to stay with somebody who cheats and continues to lie. But also, I just wanted to mention the self-reflection part of, do I want to be loved so badly that I'm accepting someone who continues to hurt me? Who Someone who continues to put my life at risk by sleeping with different people. um yeah.
That's a good question. And I think that oftentimes in that emotional state, we're not asking ourselves those types of questions. We're so busy trying to unravel what we thought our life was versus what it actually is, who we thought our partner was versus who they actually are. And a part of us is in disbelief. Now, when she was saying, you know why, when you catch your man cheating, and you start asking him questions, does he say that you're insecure? Well, essentially, what is he doing? He's distracting. Oh, wow. What was you saying?
Being manipulative, gaslighting,
Mm-hmm.
deflecting, or anything you want to think of, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, he's all of that, and he's distracting, right? He needs time to think of something, okay? Like, because his whole world is kind of tumbling down right along with yours, because in his world he could do this and still save the sanctity of your relationship, right? And so now these two things are competing against each other, and he needs some time, so he's going to distract. Man, quit being insecure. Now we're talking about me being insecure. I'm not insecure. I think you cheating. Why would you say that I'm insecure? I met that, I this, I that, I me. And we're talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And he has time to think about what his next move is going to be. Right? And yes, calling someone insecure and telling them that they don't know what they're talking about when you know that you're obviously cheating on them, yes, that is a huge form of gaslighting. It's also a huge form of distracting. What do magicians do? They have a beautiful assistant. Why? To distract you. You know what I'm saying? So that when they're doing whatever the thing that they're doing, you don't see it. You just see the magic. Right? That's the same thing. That's a maneuver meant to distract you. So you don't keep focused on, look, I'm hurt right now. I saw this. You did this, because it doesn't really matter why. And I know that this, a lot of people won't agree with me, but it doesn't. Because I've seen so many relationships where there were infidelity. And the why, even though that's the first question asked, was never really important. Because the person is not going to just say what, the truth. Oh, well, I was just out and I have low impulse control and I just slept with this other person, and I didn't think you was going to find out about it. And then it was, I liked sleeping with them. So I kept sleeping with them. But I still love you. So, I mean, obviously I kept sleeping with you. But then I still kept sleeping with them. Nobody wants to hear that. Somebody's searching for like this in-depth answer of why would you sacrifice our relationship, and like people don't want to hear that people are just out there peopling. They don't want to hear that. And a lot of times a person doesn't have this big profound reason why they cheated on you. They just did. It doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It doesn't mean that you were lacking in some area. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that the circumstance came up where they compromised themselves and you were a casualty of that. Period. I have yet, and I've been doing therapy for a good little while, right? I have yet to hear a justified reasoning of why somebody cheated on somebody. But I hear the question all the time. Why? 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 And the reason why is super important to people is because the infidelity is outside of their control. The fact that their partner stepped out on them is outside of their control. So the way that people try to take things and put it back in their control is to gain some form of blame. If I can blame myself for some of the reasoning as to why this happened, I can feel like I have some control. I can feel like if I make X, Y, and Z changes, I can control this situation. You can't. It's not your fault. And you cannot control this. You can experience it. You cannot control it.
That makes me think of, so I when you spoke on the cheating in the first half, and I thought about the victim. Now I'm kind of thinking about the other party, because you said there's no justification or great answer for when someone cheated. So it makes me think, at first I thought about somebody who, a love addict. Now it's making me think about someone who has sexual addictions and who may have a hard time controlling these urges, or they use sex to deal with their stress, and it's a coping I can't even say the word, a coping mechanism.
Mhm.
And so now they become sex addicts, not even knowing it, because that's their vice, that's their go-to. So we say people go shopping, people go eating, some people go have sex.
I mean, it's true. It's
Mm-hmm.
you're speaking absolute truth, which is where I went back to. I have low impulse control.
Yeah, that's what you said. That's what made me think about it. The low impulse control.
You know, because essentially that's what that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am having sex in place of something else that I need, you know, because it gives certain levels of endorphins. There's a relief that release that comes afterwards that makes me feel good, and it makes me, you know, it's something that I want to keep having over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
That's all well and good, right? I've dealt with couples where one of the partners had that type of addiction,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And with any other type of addiction, there is a point in time where the person that is in that relationship that is not suffering from that addiction has to make a choice. Am I going to go through this journey with them
Mm-hmm.
or not? Alcohol, crack, sex, meth,
Gambling.
gambling. Am I going to go through this journey with them or no? Because if I don't have the capacity to go through this journey with them, let me get off now. But that's typically not what happens. The person will say, you got to stop doing this. They don't recognize it as an addiction. They don't recognize or even understand what low impulse control even means, which means that you're not able to suppress the urges. You some people say you don't have the discipline, but essentially when it's an impulse, you can't, you're not suppressing the urge to do the thing, you're just going out and doing the thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so they don't recognize it, and then they're like, okay, don't do it again, don't do it again now, I'll forgive you, don't do it again. And then the person goes and does it again, because that's what people do. That's what addicts do. That's what addicts will continue to do. And then people internalize it. Well, you must not love me because you're an addict. Nope, not the same thing. I could love you and be an addict.
Mm-hmm.
My body needs this at a certain point. I can't function without it at a certain point. You know, but just like for anything else, there is rehab. If you are suffering from real sexual addiction and you want to preserve your relationship, do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're suffering from addiction and you want to preserve your relationship, do something about it.
Well, this is
And if that
good.
person's not willing to do something about it, what are you going to do?
This a talk to be had, because many people are suffering from someone that they love that have an addiction, and we don't have to just stay on a sex addiction. Like you said, alcoholism, you love your person. It could be a parent, it could be a spouse, it could be a child. Gambling, messing up the household, the money. This is a great topic. Yeah. Yeah.
There is a lot of addiction. And you know, meth is really big. Heroin for some reason is trying to make a comeback. I don't know what that's about. But, you know, there are a lot of addictions that are tearing families apart. But part of the reason why that's happening is because nobody wants to look at it. A system will stretch and bend and flex and twist to maintain homeostasis, right? And
Mhm.
what homeostasis means is like status quo, whatever is working well for that system. So if there's an alcoholic, okay, well, one would think, okay, well, if somebody's an alcoholic, that can't possibly be working for anyone.
Mhm.
Or maybe that person's easier to deal with when they're drunk. Maybe that person's easier to manipulate when they're drunk. Maybe that person is just hard to get along with when they're sober. you know and so a family will find a way, and this is not to say that families are manipulative or anything like that,
Mhm.
but the family system will find a way to turn it around for its own good.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes it allows them to have a scapegoat where they can blame everything on that person with the addiction. Oh, we're perfect, we got everything together, everything's cool with us, everything is Jason's fault. Sorry if there's a Jason watching. I just picked that name out the sky. But everything's Jason's fault. We would be so great if it wasn't for Jason. Everything would be so awesome if it wasn't for Jason. And
Mhm.
so they don't have to look at themselves in anything that they're doing within a family system that's causing disruption, because they can point everything at Jason. There's always a reason why the family continues to enable. It's because the system will find a way to make it good for the system.
Mm. This is good, ma'am. This is good.
Another thing, and I think I talked about this previous, is that this is why a lot of times when someone actually goes to get help, family falls apart. Somebody goes into rehab, comes back, and they're living a different type of life now. The system is like, nah, we needed you as the scapegoat. We needed you as that. We needed to be able to point the finger at you. you know we needed to be able to use you as a distraction from any and everything else that was going on. Now that we can't look at you, we're forced to look at us because things are still not going well, even though you're better. And so it's a consistent thing that families, unfortunately, they assume that they would thrive, if the addicted party was no longer the addicted party. But a lot of times what they realize is that it's so much that that addiction was just a symptom of that they haven't dealt with.
That's good. I can give an example. Um, about 10 years ago, I decided to quit drinking, and when I decided to quit drinking, you know what? It may have been longer than 10 years now. But anyway, when I think about that time, um, I had friends who was like, "Hey, yo." Oh, you not coming to my birthday party? No, I can't come right now because I'm trying to quit drinking. Oh, it ain't gonna hurt you. It ain't gonna hurt you to come. Yes, it is right now. If I come to the party, I know I'm going to have a drink. Okay. And so I couldn't come. And so I found that I had lost a good amount of friends. And then it had me just thinking like I was surrounded by people who love to drink. And I'm not knocking nobody. If you love doing what you do what you do. I'm just sharing. And so I found that a lot of people didn't like that I had stopped drinking. And they would say like, if I be around them, you could have a little drink. I mean, you could drink wine at least. And I say no. I'm choosing not to drink. I'll drink. You can pour me some cranberry and orange juice in here, and that'll be my drink. And I found that it was people who were upset with me when I was trying to make a positive change, and I couldn't understand it because I wouldn't say, "Hey, you need to stop drinking," or I wasn't judging them about what they were doing. But they would say to me, "You can have a drink. Oh, that bothers me. You just sitting there with your little ginger ale and this and that." And I couldn't understand why the people that I loved was so bothered about something positive that I chose to change for myself. So yes.
Because you were a reflection of what they didn't have the strength to do.
Mm.
That's why. And often that's what happens. We make a big change, we do something drastic, and it's almost as if it shines this mirror on the other people around us. You don't have to go to anybody and say, you should stop drinking.
Right.
But they see you and you're doing your thing and you're not drinking. And then it makes them more conscious of the amount of drinks they're having.
Mm.
Makes them more conscious of their behavior around you. Now, when we're all drunk, we don't have to be accountable or conscious or any of that. But when there's that sober person, now all of a sudden we're uncomfortable. You become a mirror, you become a reflection. And a lot of times that's what happens. But even in the family system, a lot of times there's an enabler. There's that person that is saying that they don't like that person drinking, but continues to supply the alcohol. But they hate it. They hate that person's drinking. Oh, it's awful. But they'll continue to supply that alcohol. They sure will. Or that family member who, they might not drink, but oh, I know that person has a connect to marijuana. So yeah, I down them for drinking, but I use they connect for marijuana. You know what I'm saying? So if that person was to like completely get out of whatever they were doing, it's like, well, wait a minute. But I still need you to play X, Y, and Z role. I still need you to do this thing. I don't want to look at what I'm doing. Can you go ahead and continue to be a clown, please? Please be a clown so that we can look at you and be distracted from what's actually going on in the grand scheme of things. Because once the clowns are gone, all of a sudden it's just dark. And now all we got to do is look at ourselves.
So when you talk about that, for someone who is trying to change or
Mhm.
they are changing, and someone else is throwing their insecurities onto you, what do you suggest to that individual?
So I'm gonna dive into that question a little bit just so I can make sure I understand it. What I'm hearing you say, eh, reflective listening, is someone is attempting to make a change in their life. However, others around them are bringing up different insecurities that that person has.
No.
Okay.
So you gave the example when I was sharing that they will point to me and say, "You can have a drink or this and that," and you said it's their insecurities, their mirror, the reflection. So how would I in that instance, when someone else is pushing off their insecurities by uh referring a person to go back to doing something they tried to change, or saying, "Oh, it ain't that bad," or whatever it may be, how would you tell somebody to correct the individual who's trying to uh push their insecurities onto the person who's trying to change?
So the first thing that I would say is understand very clearly they're not talking to you, they're talking to them.
Don't take it personal.
They're not talking to you. Everything that they say, they're saying to themselves. It's okay to have a little drink.
Mm.
It's not that bad. You can drink. It's cool. It's okay. They're not they might be saying it to you, but they're not talking to you. They're talking to them. They're trying to calm whatever voice in them is telling them that it's not okay. Because obviously you made it very clear you weren't telling people it wasn't okay.
Mm-hmm.
But there was something inside of them that was telling them it wasn't okay. So the first thing is to understand that when those people are talking to you, they're talking to themselves.
Mm-mm-mm.
They're not really trying to get you to have a drink. They're just trying to make themselves better for having them.
Wow.
So that's number one. Number two, you know, is very clear. You know, hey, no judgment. Do your thing. Have fun. However you see fit. And allow me the space to be able to have fun the way that I see fit. You know what I'm saying? It's no shade. You know, they're looking for some type of permission to be able to do what they want to do. Now as a therapist, I ask questions like, I'm curious as to why you feel you need to tell me that. Are you feeling uncomfortable about drinking? Like, I would ask that question, but then I do a lot of constructive confrontation, you know what I'm saying? But so for people who don't, you know, to ease out of that situation, hey, it's cool. No judgment. Do you. I'm going to do me. And leave it at that. Because they're seeking permission from you, essentially. They're seeking permission. And the permission comes from you actually indulging in the same act, right? That it can come from that. So that's action. Or it can come from verbal. Hey, it's cool. Do your thing. Have fun. I'm gonna just chill and let it be that. If you find that that person is getting really aggressive, it's because they have a bigger problem with the reflection than you might have thought. And that's not your burden to bear. That's not nothing that you need to take on your shoulders. That's something they need to deal with. If they don't feel comfortable drinking, and that manifests when they see other people that used to drink not drink, that's not something that you have to solve for them. You don't have to take a drink because they're trying to soothe their own conscience. You don't have to give permission through physical action of participating in what they're asking you to participate in. Hold your ground. Your boundary is your boundary. You don't have to be mean, but hold your ground. Hey, it's cool. I'm good. And just leave it. Leave it at that. Because they're not talking to you anyway. They're talking to themselves. They're pacifying themselves. So I see, I hope I'm saying your name right. Samar, Odin is on. Tara, you were on at one point. I don't know if you're still on. Erica, I see that you were on. I appreciate you. And everybody who, asked questions, I 100% appreciate it. I'm here every Thursday. I'm just looking up a little bit because I don't want to miss nobody. I know Mo is on because I'm talking to Mo right now. Anna Marie was on as well. Daquan was on. I hope I'm saying your name right. And he shared, which I appreciate. When you see me on, definitely please share the feed. Share. Because I'm on here trying to create an open forum platform for us to be able to talk to each other and learn from each other. I'm a licensed therapist, and I have professional insight, I don't necessarily like to call it advice, even though it says call supportive advice live, but I have professional insight, and so if you have questions, feel free to come on just like Mo did, right? This wasn't scary, Mo, was it?
No, it was not. I enjoy these conversations and these topics. You can learn so much just by having a conversation with someone, and with your expertise that can assist day to day communication and interactions with others. So I appreciate it. I love this type of uh, conversation and
Yeah, I
learning.
was glad I was able to catch you. That you was able to come on this Thursday. If y'all don't know, Mo is normally riding with me on Thursdays. On my video podcast and things. Um, so I'm so glad that you were able to come on and everything. I always look forward to our conversations. Um,
My
does it,
class My
huh?
class is almost over, so
All
I'll be back
right.
soon. It's almost over.
But I look forward to it. Now, does anybody else have any other questions before I let you guys go? Because I do have to jump off soon. The
while they're
moderator,
while
huh?
they're typing, when does the show come on again?
I come on live Thursdays around six ish. You know, I'm not perfect, y'all. At the end of the day, things come up. So sometimes I'm here at 6, sometimes I'm here at 6:15. Today I was here at 6:30. But 6ish, I'm here. And I'm typically on here. Normally we have a topic like we'll do with, am I the a-hole, or we'll have like a specific topic that we're talking about. But today was just kind of like a free for all. But yep, Thursdays, I'm here. So, subscribe, or, like the pay supportive advice live, so you can get updates of when we're live and all that good stuff. And you can be a part of the conversation. Also, I'll try to make sure that I keep the link in the chat so that people can actually come on, and we can have, real time conversations just like me and Mo did today. I think this was pretty good. What you think, Mo?
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. And I already have some things I would like to put in the suggestion box for some topics.
Oh
Uh,
yes, yes.
uh,
Please DM me with any suggestions. Um, Aquila Weekly. That's my Facebook page. I also have Supportive Advice Live. I also have Supportive Advice. So you can go on any one of those platforms. I also have TikTok. And every platform everybody else has, right? So you can DM me on Instagram too. I think it's Aquila Wheatley LMFT, something like that. I believe that's what it is. So inbox me with topics, questions, concerns, conflicts that you might be going through, where you would want some professional opinion, on it. I'm for it. So Mo, don't forget to text me. Text me with those topics because I'm gonna get to it.
okay. Well, one of them is a topic that we talked today, and I believe we can go in more in depth and help more people about them addictions like
Oh
gambling
yeah.
and alcoholism and yeah, love, wanting to be loved so bad that you allowing people to mistreat you. It's a lot of that going on. Yeah.
And I see a lot of it. And I've asked the question before, like, why is it okay for individuals to mismanage you, whoever you is,
Mhm.
right? And a lot of times the response that I'll get is it's not okay.
But
However,
still
that's
alive.
not your truth.
Mm.
That might be what you're saying because that's what you believe is societally expected or acceptable, but that's not your truth. Because if it really wasn't okay for someone to mishandle you, you wouldn't allow it. Anything that you allow, it's okay.
Mm.
And that's when I go into really going with radical honesty. Because radical honesty is hard,
Mhm.
because it's when you really dive deep into what you're living versus what you're preaching.
Ooh, come on.
Because I can say all day, oh, I would never do this. I don't do this. This ain't okay. That ain't okay. Which I wouldn't, because I'm a safe space. But at the end of the day, if I'm not living that, it's not my truth. It might be true to someone, but it's not true to me because I'm not living it. If you're in a space where you are allowing yourself, thank you. Can I have some bubble? You cannot have any bubble gum, honey. It's 8:25. Nope. I love you too. So, close the door. Thank you. So, if you're allowing someone, yes, I'm a mom too. If you're allowing someone to mismanage you and mishandle you, you can stop saying it's not okay. Because clearly you've decided it is. So the bigger question is, at what point did you decide that you didn't deserve to be handled properly? At what point did you lose patience? So much so that you were okay with being mishandled. Those become the bigger questions. Now I'm step off my little soapbox here. And but yeah, what you said, there's a lot of individuals out here that they understand the concept of being they understand the concept of self-love and being worthy of love and all of these other type of different things, but on the inside they don't believe it, right? I can have someone say to me, no, I love myself and I know my worth, but then none of their relationships support that. None of their relationship patterns support that. None of the behaviors that they allow support that. And then I have to ask them, well, what is your love doing for you? What does your love for you do? Because if all it does is put you in situations where you're hurt and mishandled, do you really love you? And is that love healthy? But I guess that's a different topic for a different day, right? With that being said, y'all, I appreciate everybody for joining. Share, even if you didn't get a chance to share while it was live, please share afterwards. I'm trying to get, more people to get involved in this conversation. And thank you so much. I appreciate you again. My name is Aquila Wheatley, and I'm a licensed therapist, and I'm here on Thursdays at 6ish. All right. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you, Mo, for jumping on. I appreciate you.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day. You have a great night.
Bye.